Hello everyone. This is a second lecture on engineering geology. In the last lecture, we have discussed scheme and syllabus of engineering geology, introduction of geology, and its main branches. Now, in this lecture, we will discuss allied branches of geology. Engineering geology, this is one of the allied branch of geology. Engineering geology basically deals with the application of geological knowledge in the field of civil engineering for execution of safe, stable, and economic constructions like dams, bridges, and tunnels. Okay, here we apply the geological knowledge like what kind of rock existing and what is the nature of rock, what is the groundwater condition. So all these things comes under geological knowledge. So we apply this knowledge for our civil engineering projects like dams, bridges, tunnels, high rise buildings to make these constructions safe, stable, and economic. This is the branch with which we are most concerned, as our subject name is engineering geology. So, out of all these branches of geology, our main concern will be in engineering geology. Civil engineering constructions like dams and bridges will have their foundations on geological formations of the earth's surface. Okay, that's why their stability and safety depend on the competence of the in situ rocks of the sites concerned. Clear? As we know, the constructions like dams and bridges are founded on a geological formation of the earth surface. So how can we say that these structures will be stable and safe? It depends on the competence of the in situ rocks at the site. Competence of the in situ rock means whether your rock can take the load of these structures or not. All these things matter in the stability and safety. Also, to be economical, such competent foundation rocks should be at a shallow depth. Okay, suppose this is a ground level and the rock strata is lying deep from the ground surface. Okay, so in order to install the foundation, it is required to excavate up to this level. Clear? So you need to spend money in the excavation. It can make your construction expensive. So in order to have economic construction, it is necessary your rock strata should lie at a shallow depth. Further, for huge constructions like dams, building materials are required in very large quantities near the site. Otherwise, the cost of construction will increase. Okay, if the materials which are required in the constructions are not existing near the site, then it is required to transport the material. Okay, so this process will increase the cost of construction. But if these materials are available near the site, then your construction will be economical. These critical details which are important from civil engineering point of view like durability and competence of foundation rocks, the depth of the rock, availability of building materials near the project sites, all such critical details we can reliably obtain from geological and geophysical studies. So ultimately engineering geology deals with the application of geological knowledge on civil engineering projects like dams, bridges, tunnels, high rise buildings for its safe, stable, and economic constructions. Next is mining geology. So, as in engineering geology, we apply the geological knowledge in civil engineering projects. In similar way here, we apply geological knowledge in the field of mining. A mining engineer mainly concerned with the mode and extent of occurrence of ores, their association, tenor and properties. But it is also necessary to know other physical parameters like depth, direction, which is strike, inclination, that is dip, thickness and reserve of ore bodies for efficient utilization. What is strike, what is dip, that we will discuss in detail in our upcoming lectures. So basically mining geology deals with the details of mining exploration, estimation and mining exploitation. Mineral exploitation. The geological knowledge helps in planning the method of mining or quarrying a deposit in an advantageous way. Geophysics. The study of physical properties like density and magnetism of the earth or its part to know its interior forms the subject matter of geophysics. Means in geophysics we apply the properties like physical properties like density and magnetic property of the earth to find the interior of the earth. Broadly, geophysics is subdivided into general geophysics, that is also known as pure geophysics, and exploration geophysics, which is also known as applied geophysics. Pure geophysics deals with general aspects of the earth as a whole, and exploration geophysics deals with the study of upper layer of the earth crust. Means in pure geophysics we deal with the whole earth, and in exploration geophysics we deal only with the upper layer of the earth. Clear? This exploration geophysics we can use to solve some civil engineering problems, to locate oil and gas deposits, and exploration geophysics also used to locate groundwater and to explore and estimate the ore deposits. There are different type of geophysical investigations like electrical resistivity method and seismic refraction method, which uses the physical properties. Okay. By these geophysical investigations we can find the stratification below the ground surface. Stratification means at which depth the soft soil is existing and at which depth the hard strata means rock is existing. So, and the beauty of these methods is that we need not to go for excavation. Clear? The details of this method we will discuss in our upcoming lectures. Since these geophysical methods are quickly and easily done on the surface, large areas can be investigated economically and efficiently. Geophysical investigations are very useful in solving foundation problems because we know the stratification, alignment of structures, leakage problems along canals, locating building materials like stones where they are not available on the surface. Clear? Next is geohydrology. This may also be called as hydrogeology. It deals with occurrence, movement and nature, that is quality and quantity of groundwater in an area. It has applied importance because groundwater has many advantages over surface water. We know the quality of groundwater is more superior than surface water. Geochemistry. This branch is relatively more recent and deals with the occurrence, distribution, abundance and mobility of different elements in the Earth's crust. It is not important from civil engineering point of view. So here we end our discussion on branches of geology. Now we come to scope of geological studies. As a civil engineer, our matter of concern should be uh, what is the use of geological studies in our civil engineering projects. Okay, so first of all we will see scope of geological studies with reference to dams. Okay, what is dam? Dam is an artificial barrier to the natural flow of river. Okay, geological studies at the dam sites suggest which design will be suitable for a given geological context. Clear? So based on the geological conditions, we can decide which design we should prefer for the dam for its stability. For example, gravity dams need very strong and competent foundation rocks. Means if the rock quality is sound enough, so we can go for gravity dam. For buttress dams, relatively less strong foundation rocks are enough. Arc dams need very strong and stable abutment rocks. For earth dams, even weak foundation rocks meet the requirement. So, based on the quality of the rock, we can decide which kind of dam we can construct for its stability. Now we come to the scope of geological studies with respect to reservoirs. What is reservoir? The stored water body behind the dam is called reservoir. Okay, so along with the requirement of site condition for dam, the requirement of site condition for locating the reservoir also we should keep in mind. So for selection of suitable sites for locating reservoir, it is required to have geological knowledge. Intense weathering in the rocks upstream causes silting problem. What is silting? Suppose this is a reservoir. Intense weathering in the rocks upstream. So due to weathering, the rock mass, due to weathering, suppose this is a rock. Due to weathering, this rock mass is broken into a small particle, and these particle get deposited at the bottom of the reservoir. Okay, here it is saying that intense weathering in the rocks upstream. What is the upstream? This is a dam, and this portion is called upstream, this portion is called downstream. So in the upstream rock, if the upstream rock is subjected to weathering, then the weathering product will be come in contact with reservoir, and these weathering product get deposited at the bottom of the reservoir. This phenomena is called silting. Okay, so we should select the site such that this kind of phenomena does not prevail. Porosity and permeability of rocks, occurrence of faults, joints and other weak planes causes leakage problems. What is porosity? Porosity is the volume of void, is the ratio of volume of void to the total volume of the rock. Clear? It is denoted by small n. So if the volume of void will be higher in rock, then the porosity will be high. What is permeability? Permeability is the ability of rock to allow the water to pass through it. It means if permeability is high, then it can allow more water to pass through it. Occurrence of faults, joints. What is fault? From civil engineering point of view, these geological structures, faults and joints are unsuitable and undesirable structures for any kind of project. Okay, what is fault actually? Structurally, faults may be described as fractures along which relative displacements of adjacent blocks of rock has been taken place. Means This is a fracture plane along which these blocks of rock are sliding about along this plane. So this plane is known as fault. Okay, and what is joint? If about the fracture plane there is no movement of the blocks of rock, then this plane, fracture plane, will be called as joint. Okay, so in this condition, if rock masses are sliding, then this is known as fault, and in this condition this fracture plane is called as joint. So due to porosity, permeability, and faults and joints, there is a problem of leakage. Due to leakage, there is a loss of water from the reservoir. Thus, proper studies of geological conditions at any proposed reservoir site will forewarn an engineer of the problems, if any. Next, with reference to tunnels. Okay. What is tunnel? Tunnel is an underground passage which is constructed by excavating the earth or rock, and it is opened at both the ends. Okay. Competence of the rocks, associated geological structure, that is bedding, faults, joints, porosity and permeability of rocks, and groundwater conditions are the geological conditions which need to be thoroughly studied for the construction of tunnels. Now, with reference to bridges, strong and stable rocks are needed for foundation of piers and abutments. Okay, these are piers and this is abutment. So for the foundation of piers and abutment, strong and stable rocks are required. Okay. Adverse geological structures should not occur at the site. Okay, adverse geological structures like faults and joints are avoidable. Thus, to ensure safety, stability, success, and economy in all major civil engineering projects, geological studies are very important. Existing rock types, associated geological structures like faults, joints, folds, and groundwater conditions. These are the most important and common geological factors which contribute to the suitability or unsuitability of a site for a given purpose. Occurrence of landslides, earthquakes, type of natural forces like rivers, etc. at the proposed site are some other geological factors which may need special study for taking precautionary measures. Okay. Geological knowledge can also be utilized in dealing with huge buildings, runways, road and railways. Failures of various earlier structures due to different geological causes have now made it mandatory to have geological clearance before taking up major constructions. Okay, so these days, before going for any major construction, we must have geological clearance. This will ensure risk-free investment of time, money and energy. National organizations like GSI, Geological Survey of India, and NIRM, that is National Institute of Rock Mechanics, do the needful in this regard. Now we come to Geological Survey of India. We have seen there are different national organizations which take care of all the geological activities in India. Some of them are GSI, NIRM, and one more that we have to discuss in this semester, that is also in our syllabus, that is granite dimension stone cell. Okay, these three we have to discuss. So first of all we come to GSI. Geological Survey of India. The Geological Survey of India was set up in 1851 and its primary objective was to find coal deposits for the railways. Okay, initially it has only one objective, that is finding the coal deposits for the railways. Over the years, it has not only grown into a repository of geoscience information required in various fields in the country, but has also attained the status of a geoscientific organization of international repute. Okay, over the years, it has increased its field of work and globally it has attained its reputation. GSI headquartered at Kolkata and it has 6 regional offices which are located at Lucknow, Jaipur, Nagpur, Hyderabad, Shillong and Kolkata. And its state unit offices are in almost all states of the country. Presently, GSI is an attached office to the Ministry of Mines. Scope of work of GSI. The main function of GSI relate to creation and updation of national geoscientific information and mineral resource assessment. Okay, and these objectives are achieved through ground surveys, airborne and marine surveys, mineral prospecting and investigations, multidisciplinary geoscientific, geotechnical, geoenvironmental and natural hazards studies, glaciology, seismotectonic study and carrying out fundamental research. Outcome of outcome of work of GSI has immense societal value. Next two, which are granite dimension stone cell and National Institute of Rock Mechanics. This is your assignment. Okay, you have to find their scope of work and some information regarding them. In the next lecture, we will discuss mineralogy. Thank you.